All right, good morning, everyone. We'll call the September 11th meeting of the MPO to order. At this time, is there any public comment on agenda items? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the, Emily, what? was
The
that?
June 26th.
June 26th MPO meeting.
Like the motion.
Yes. A second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. On to agenda item number 4, the 2023-2026 tip. Do you want to add anything to Emily, or do we turn it right over to Julia Cornell?
We can turn it right over to PennDOT.
Julia,
Hello, can you hear me all right?
yes.
Okay, so these are the modifications since the last meeting. The first one I wanted to talk about was administrative action number 3 and 4. So this action was to advance funds to 2024 because the project was let for MPMS 613, the 20-mile Creek Bridge. $189,000 in state 185 funds were added to the construction phase in 2024. And the source was 3 other projects where the phases were not needed until 2025 or 2026. The next action is number 9 and 10. And this action was to increase funds to cover the cost estimate for the PE phase for in-house and consultant design, and as well as to adjust the cash flow. $460,317 in HSIP funds were added to the Bayfront Parkway at 6th Street intersection improvement in 2024. $63,187 in federal NHPP and $71,643 in STP funds were added to US 19 Oliver Road to Rotunda Drive in 2024. $800,000 in STP funds were added to US 19 Dorn Road I-90 interchange in 2024. And lastly, $256,363 in state 581 funds were added to SR 531 Depot Road Section 2 in 2024. The source of funding was the project was advanced from federal fiscal year 2025, and then also the outer years of the projects, as well as the Erie Highway Bridge line item. So the last action I want to cover is number 14, which is a little different. But so this action was to increase funds to match the federal aid estimate. And this action is actually using the Erie Highway Bridge line item to fund a Shenango Valley MPO project called Gilmore Road Bridges. $577,162 in federal BRIP funds were added to the COM phase of this project in 2024. And so basically this action was done to utilize BRIP funding that was previously programmed on the 20-mile Creek Bridge project, which originally came from a statewide reserve line item. And the funding was not needed on that project due to a low bid cost adjustment. So with central office's approval, these excess funds were permitted to be added to a project on the Shenango Valley tip for obligation prior to the federal fiscal year deadline. And that was all I wanted to cover, but if anyone has any questions.
Any questions of Julia? Oh, okay. Thank you, Julia. Appreciate your time. Agenda item number 5, updates on full $5 local use fee. Matt, do you wanna?
Sure, thanks, Tim. Good morning, everybody. I think Emily covered some of this at the TAC meeting, so a lot of it will probably be a review, but we had our last local use meeting on July 17th. Some of the items discussed were the three bridges in McCain Township over Lansing Run. Those were supposed to go out to bid in August. So you should be past that by now. Due to the cost increases on those, the local bridge bundle was being delayed until 2027, as well as future projects on the local use fee. But to the two agenda items, we had requests for increase in funding on Himrod Road Bridge. This one was originally budgeted at $565,715, which was based off the PennDOT estimate from whenever the local use fee was established. So we've gotten the updated cost estimate, which is now $1,820 for one. Let me try again. $1,820, $448. Of that, the township is contributing $100,000 and the county is looking at Act 13 for $250,000. So the additional required from the local use fee would be $904,733. And then the other cost increase, again, this is based off of the original estimate of $650,000, and we've gotten updated cost estimates. The new cost estimate is $2,091,821, which is a request in additional funding of $1,441,821. So those are the two items up for vote today, and from my understanding, they were approved by the TAC at the last meeting, so they're before you today. And beyond that, sorry.
No, go ahead.
We had discussion on future funding, how the funding is going to be organized through the local use fee. Various concepts were discussed, like local matches, possible grant funding routes, or having the municipalities do the engineering up front. We're still discussing those. Our next meeting will be on October 16th, 2024 at 10 a.m. at the Department of Planning. That's it for me. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Matt. You want these on separate votes then, Emily?
Yes, please.
Okay, all right. Do I have any questions of Matt before we, look at these items? If not, do I have a motion to approve the assignment of the 904,733 to the Himrod Road Bridge in Waterford Township?
So I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? All right, motion carries. And then looking for a motion to assign the 1.4 million in funds to the Sherrod Hill Road Bridge, Elk Creek Township.
Make that motion.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Matt, for your time. Appreciate it. Emily, you have a UWP update for us?
Yes. So I think as everyone knows, the MPO has to produce a unified planning work program at least every 2 years that describes all of the tasks that the MPO is doing. And this is pretty much like the other ones. It has to be adopted by this December, and it has to be into FHWA for review by the end of October. So that's why it's coming to you now as a draft for questions and comments from the board. So basically, this describes all the things we're doing as an MPO in the next 2 years, things like a TIP update, our annual obligation report, our long-range transportation plan, all of those base core activities that the MPO must do and approve. So if anyone has any comments, you can make them now, or please just reach out to me by October 20th with any comments or concerns, so I can get them into the draft before it goes to federal highways. So thank you very much for those who have looked it over already. And if anyone else has any comments or questions, please reach out. by October 20th.
Any questions of Emily now? Okay, you got 6 weeks to
Yes.
reach out to her if you do have any comments on the UPWP. Moving on, next item is just really a discussion, regarding the 2027 LRTP. And this committee would then make a recommendation to the TAC for their November 13th meeting, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, so Emily, if you wanna kind of talk about this a little bit?
Yeah, I'll kick this off. Hopefully it can be a discussion, like Tim said. At our last TAC meeting, the committee discussed having a steering committee for the long-range transportation plan, but wanted some ideas about how to structure that committee.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Yes.
It'll be the last page of your agenda booklet, right, that you're gonna be
Yes.
referring to?
Yeah, so
Oh, no.
yes, exactly. I put together 3 potential options of a steering committee. Each of them has 10 people total, but it can be increased or decreased. I just put 10 as a nice kind of small number. But we can be very prescriptive about who is on this committee by saying the representative from the port or PennDOT District 1, that they serve on the committee. We can be more open, saying we want volunteers, or we can even be more locally focused, looking outside of appointed voting membership to members of the public and advocates. All of this is up for decision actually by the TAC, because the TAC has power over subcommittees. But it would be great to get the opinion of this committee about what would be the best way forward for a long-range transportation plan steering committee, looking at our 2027 update. So we got some time for this update. This is just the very beginning stages of planning. So does anyone have any thoughts right off the bat?
Emily, what's the steering committee's role in this? They have meetings or they have, they meet with the board using consultant? to do that
Yes,
Again, or they
Yes.
help select, what is the role of steering committee?
yeah, I would think they would be monthly meetings to discuss the scope of work of the LRTP that a consultant will put together. So scope, timeline, activities like public engagement, outreach, all of that would have input from the steering committee. And then when it gets down to project selection and project ranking, the steering committee would create those criteria for ranking projects and approve the projects that are ranked in LRTP. And these are locally sourced projects. So not necessarily coming through the TIP process. These are things that are more community driven, that the steering committee would select. And that's how things get funded that may not pop up with things like performance measures. So it's not necessarily a road that needs paving. It may just be an intersection that people feel is very unsafe, like the Cranberry and Bayfront intersection that's getting a traffic light. Currently, that came through the LRTP. So that the role of the steering committee would be to guide the process and then approve those projects that are selected.
And these are certainly just 3 options that Emily had comprised, so if there's,
Can be
you know,
others.
yeah, absolutely, but this is just, an opportunity for some discussion, opinions on what anybody might wanna see. Anybody have anything?
Okay, I mean, we don't
Yeah.
have to. I mean.
Yeah, process it,
Yeah,
My, my only concern, Mr. Chairman, is that Emily has a group that she can work with. This isn't, a committee to air grievances and air petty, stuff. I mean, she has that committee that's focused on the big picture. And that's why in the TAC meeting, I brought that up, that there has to be some flexibility here. These are good suggestions that she's come up with. There again, this is the committee she has to work with, so we need to carefully craft it so it doesn't turn into anything political or people have private agendas that they want to, take forward, because this isn't the place for it. It's a sounding board that everybody moves forward in concert to bring the plan to the MPO and the TAC. Just my thoughts. I think we need to be careful that we get her the support because it's a big job to get this done. So, my only comments.
Thank you, Dave. And even the number does not, it's not written in stone that it
No.
needs to be 10 or something like that. So just a number that's manageable for Emily to herd the cats a little bit. Yes. Okay. All right.
Yeah, what is the main goal? What would be the main goal?
Well, really to guide what's in the long range transportation plan. It is a requirement that we update it every 5 years. So a lot of the things we do are required by federal highways in order to keep our authorization as an MPO to get federal funds. But it really will be to guide the process. If there's things like Dave was saying, big picture things. Do we want like a section on EV in our long range transportation plan? Do we want something on dirt roads? You know, what we want the consultant to look at. And then specifically look at those projects too that come out of the outreach that's done. If that makes sense.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm looking at probably one. All the users, all the experience. Which is my opinion, because we're looking at the smallest project.
Yeah, really, trying to get at those local projects that might be missed by PennDOT and looking at performance measures and the big, that focus. Yeah,
Yeah. How about floating another idea, Bill? Your townships, right? Boroughs, I'm sorry, boroughs, and we have a township representative different. Okay. Maybe, if you put, you don't want too big of a committee, but maybe if your two representatives from the township and the boroughs, could form a little, group within their association that could give them feedback that they could bring back to the table. I know both of them work very hard, in representing, their entities, but they might be able to have a meeting or two where they would gain more information about some. You can't have everybody at the same table at one time, but to have the flavor of the small communities. And I think the small communities would love that because they would actually feel there's a voice that's being heard. And like I said, we have two excellent representatives for those associations, and just a thought, Bill, maybe.
Well, I think in the two models, the option 3 gives the most flexibility to nominate, or for the MPO members to nominate, right? Nominate people like representatives of more boroughs, more townships, right? This gives the most flexibility to bring outsiders into the process, Emily? This option 3 seems more outside of this group coming in.
Yeah, option 3 specifically kind of removes PennDOT and FHWA to advisory status and focuses more on locals.
And some of the criticism we get is not having enough citizen engagement in what this MPO does. That's one criticism. So that would bring the most citizen engagement, right?
So I do think that one of the ways to get the citizen engagement and get the feedback from the smaller municipalities that we want to get the idea of what's going on in the communities is to focus on wider stakeholder meetings with the consultant. And that doesn't necessarily mean that there needs to be a different steering committee makeup. So the whole idea of this group and then that steering committee would be to take what's gotten back by, Brett picked up from listening tours with the consultant and some of these members of the stakeholders. For the steering committee, the stakeholders, when we went out and did the last one in Mercer, we met with a huge amount of different groups from tourism to, the different municipalities to, fire departments, all of that to try to get an idea of what was going on in the communities and what they were interested in for us to bring that into the LRTP. So you could always say as part of that, that you want that consultants to do those stakeholder meetings and have a variety of who they're talking to. That doesn't necessarily reflect in your steering committee. But just an idea.
I like that idea, Mr. Chairman, because sometimes we forget, like firemen are boots on the ground at accidents and intersections and, particularly bad situations that crop up in transportation. So it's kind of neat to mention that because a lot of times we forget about some of these groups, like fire and police. We're out there on the front line, seeing this every day. Some of our municipal workers, the managers in the different boroughs and townships that are out there seeing boots on the ground every day in tough situations. So that's a good suggestion, I think, to at least think about that. And again, you could do this. The problem you have with the public today is you give a stakeholder meeting, unless they have an axe to grind, people don't show up. Unless they want something specific. And it would, it's a tough assignment. But I think we're up to it.
A good example of a county that has done a comprehensive plan. A little bit different than the long range plan, but how they approached it would be Crawford. With their, the way they just did their comprehensive plan where they went out, instead of having meetings where they asked everyone to come to them. In order to get the feedback, they went out to things that were going on in the county and all of the areas they were trying to hit, including just setting up at ice cream stands at different things so that they could get feedback from people. So that's another thing that you can have the consultant do, is have them go out to the events that are going on in the community and get the feedback instead of having meetings where the people have to come to them. So that would be your way of getting with that.
I like, Dave's points as far as the local, but I also like PennDOT involvement as well. So yeah, I think we need to just come up with a healthy blend of the two, but, yeah, once again, we'll digest this for a month or so, and if you have any suggestions or, alternative, options, please let Emily know for sure. If nothing else on that, you want to touch on anything else with that, Emily?
No,
Okay,
no,
all
we
right.
can discuss more at the TAC meeting.
Yep.
The TAC will have to
November,
vote at the next,
November 13th?
November 3rd.
Okay, all righty. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 8, agency updates. Mark, anything for us?
Just a few things, looking at the let schedule for the rest of this year. Not a whole lot going on, as far as significant projects. We do have a Bridge Shot Creek project, letting, this month, a repair contract in October. In November, we have a highway lading contract and also the, Edinburgh sidewalk project, will be going out, as well. Looking into next year, we do have a couple large projects that are gonna be let. I think I talked about these previously, but there are a few updates. The Route 832, 06M from Route 20 into the state park. That design is currently still underway, just working through the design details, and it's scheduled to let in the spring, I believe in April. Also the I-79 bridges over the railroad tracks just south of the 12th Street exit. We do have our meeting scheduled for next week with the consultant that did the complete inspection of the bridges. So the bridge unit will be meeting with them to go over the findings of the inspection. And that'll help define the type, size, and location report and the general scope of project for that rehabilitation project. The Route 19 widening project from Dorn to Robinson. We have had the scoping field view. We had a design kickoff meeting with the design consultant. They're going to be doing some data collection this fall, some traffic counts and some field work. Probably won't see a whole lot of the preliminary engineering activities starting until later in the winter, probably after the first of the year. So that one's just getting started off the ground. That project's not scheduled to let until late in 2026. So we're still about 2 years out before we get a PSNE submission. I think I talked about the Route 20 bridge last time, but that project was let and construction activities should be underway for that. The last project worth noting is in Corey. We have 2 road resurfacing projects that are in preliminary engineering phase right now. That is the Route 77 and also the 426 projects. That's still in preliminary engineering. They're working on design field view submissions and working on public involvement materials, which should be going out later this month. So any questions on those or any other projects?
In Springfield, they've been talking about the railroad bridge, 6M.
Yep.
They're widening and deepening, something, so you got a bigger.
Yeah, so that railroad bridge is going to be completely replaced with a new bridge. The span will be increased so that the lane width and shoulder width on 6N will be up to required criteria for that. So it's a complete new bridge replacement that's going to go on through there. It's still in preliminary engineering. I think we just had some public involvement materials go out on that recently.
They had it in the paper.
Yeah. Yep.
Any concept of what they on that?
Yeah, I don't think it's going until 26, maybe even 2027. It's still a few years out before we go to let.
Any other questions of Mark? All right, if not, is Kanana with us?
Good morning, everyone. My
Good
name is
morning.
Kanana. My name is Kanana Zachirovich from Federal Highway Administration, and my update is that Ronique Bishop is typically your Federal Highway liaison. However, she is on a temporary assignment with the Florida Division until November 22nd. So in the meantime, myself and Jean Proshniak will be assigned to Erie to help out wherever we can. So feel free to reach out to me or Jean, and I'll toss our emails here in the chat if anything's needed. Thank you.
That's me.
Okay, all right. Julia, did you stay on the line for a PennDOT central office update?
Yes, hello.
So,
I just have a few updates to give. So the first one is the State Transportation Commission, or the STC, has adopted the updated 12-year transportation program. This plan anticipates that $88 billion will be available over the next 12 years for improvements to the transportation system, which is an increase of more than 5% from the previous TYP. And if you're not familiar, the TYP lists statewide plan projects across all modes of transportation and assigns funding over a 12-year period. And at the end of this, I'll send out some links for your reference. The The next announcement is the NEVI funding round 1B awards were announced on August 15th. And Erie County did receive an award. $786,408 was awarded to Francis Energy PA for a charging station at Comfort Suites in Edinburgh. Exit 166 off I-79. The next update is that applications for the Multimodal Transportation Fund will open on September 23rd, and they're due by November 5th of this year. And this fund seeks to enhance communities' pedestrian safety and transit revitalization. And then the last announcement is that PennDOT invites public comment on the plan for expanded electric vehicle charging support, and also funding distribution. So basically, they created a survey which will close on October 11th. But they created the survey, PennDOT did, because they recently submitted the 2024 NEVI state plan update to Federal Highway, which outlines the progress on the NEVI program and how the agency proposes to begin the program's community charging phase, which will bring federal investments to communities across Pennsylvania. The department has requested that FHWA certifies that it has met the requirements for the 1,800 miles of alternative fuel corridors, and that they can begin investing the state's remaining $102 million in NEVI funding to develop community charging infrastructure. So basically, the survey will allow you to give your opinion, on where else you think in the community, like, besides the alternative fuel corridors, where you would like charging stations. And then if there are no questions, those were all the announcements I had.
Great. Any questions of Julia?
Well, I'll just jump in that, Julie, I don't know if you know that, PennDOT applied for a CFI grant, a community funding, one of the EV charging for Route 6 across the entire north of PA, and that includes Route 6 and Route 6N in Erie County. So looking at Corey, Union City, Albion, and Edinburgh as well as kind of hubs. So right now, those have been identified. But if there are other areas that people think are important, then that survey would be a great place to put them.
Yes.
Are these per charge?
Yes, yes.
And I was just gonna say to everyone on here and Emily as well, since if you could distribute this, we'll have links to that survey as well, because I know with a number of you being in person with the meeting and maybe won't be seeing the links via Teams, we'll have that out. So if you can send that information out then to the coordinating committee afterwards, then you'll all have what you need.
Thank you. If no other questions of Julia and central office, Dave Robinson, are you on the line for an EMTA update?
Yes, I am. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
I would say that right now, everybody's pretty focused.
I think we lost you, Dave. Did he mute himself? Yeah,
Two of which might be trolleys.
Hey, Dave,
Yep.
we lost you as soon as you said we were all focused.
Yeah. Well,
Did you
we're more focused on our Act 44 review than the government.
A little more out of
Yeah. Hello, Dave. Can anybody else hear Dave?
I can't hear online either.
Who is that?
That's
Brandon.
Brandon.
Oh, Brandon. Okay. All right, Brandon.
I'm back.
Hello, Dave.
Yeah, I was saying,
Now he's gone.
That's so strange.
Maybe they need to build a new facility. Oh, wait.
all right, I see you're moving. I see you're moving. Yeah, we're preparing for our Act 44 review with PennDOT at the beginning of November. We've got 7 new lift buses.
All right, Dave, it seems like we're having continued technical difficulty. I see you're mentioning is you've got 7 new lift buses. Perhaps you could summarize your comments in an email to Emily that she might be able to, distribute to the committee?
Yes, I'll do that. Absolutely. Sorry for this.
No problem, Dave. Okay, and likewise, if we have any comments for Dave, yeah, please message to him or whatever. Okay, all right, moving on to other business. Anybody have anything? The only thing I had was, that this coming Tuesday, right, is the 811 day. I know several of the municipalities are sending, some of their staff to the 811 day down at the convention center. So, I've gone before, they touch on a lot of safety and, just to mention it, I'm sure it's not too late to register. I know Kirkpatrick would appreciate a good turnout. So that's just a plug for the 811 day. That's all I have. Is there other business? Yes.
We had a couple of questions, related to the studies that were done, the Water Street study and the zoo. Well, I guess the zoo bridge was gonna be re-inspected for pedestrians, so they were looking for a status update, right? I mean, yeah. Where we're at with either of those 2 items.
So you want to do the zoo bridge first?
I can discuss, look, I was actually gonna save that for the October $5 local use fee committee, but I can discuss now. But from what I understood, Consor was out there and had looked at it. I think I brought this up before, maybe within the past month or so. I didn't actually see an official report, but I know PennDOT had spoken to them, and the take was that the bridge could not be essentially saved or put back in for pedestrian use. But incidentally, an aside to that is we had a emergency sewer project collapse actually that happened right at the bridge. There was a sewer line that goes essentially connects the zoo area over to Glenwood Park Avenue. And so we had to mobilize an emergency contractor in there to do that fix. And I'd got word about Consor's assessment at the same time. So while we were in there, we coordinated, we partnered actually with the zoo and the DEP, and we went ahead and removed the bridge. So the structure's gone as an emergency that we put right in the tail end of that sewer line project. So I guess the next step was, and let me clarify my comment too, and just say that when I say it's gone, that would just be the superstructure and the deck. The abutments, the wing walls, all those items were saved. And so now I think the next discussion we move into is what do we do next as far as putting a bridge back in there? And so that's where we can pick that discussion up, I guess, at the $5 local use fee meeting in October. And start moving in that direction, because I think the zoo has a strong desire to see something put back there. What I'm hearing is pedestrian bridge. So with those abutments, everything in place, I think it really will make that project hopefully feasible to move forward. So.
But on the
thank you.
local use, Jason, though, we can't use those dollars for non-motorized.
Yeah,
So
that is
true.
special use has to be from
Okay.
people. So maybe knowing that, maybe there's a different discussion of how we fund a pedestrian bridge, which is also the same query I have about the Water Street too, because we, in our office, are kind of trying to figure out how we can address the lack of pedestrian bridges. So that's what we're trying to figure out. Knowing that too would be a pedestrian bridge.
So for the Sioux Bridge, we do have what the length width of the structure would need to be, at least what the previous bridge was.
Mhm.
We're gonna start going through the historical bridges database to see if there's one that possibly like was done in I'm assuming where we took a truss from somewhere else and was able to put it there. For pedestrian trail use, maybe something can be done similar to that. That doesn't mean that we would not need to go for a grant in order to be able to do it, but we might at least have a structure that could be repurposed for that. That would be helpful. So we do have that. We're gonna be looking into see if what's in the database that would help with that. After the last meeting, it was brought up that Wesleyville and Lawrence Park had not gotten a copy of the study advanced to the Bureau of Public Transit for the Water Street. The study with Napier, Bell, all of that. Late last week, they were able to get me a copy of the deliverables that were given, still trying to go through the 300 and some pages to get what is actually useful to everybody out there. But I did bring, tentative costs for the trail alternatives, that they had talked about, including if the estimate that they gave for a new pedestrian bridge at Bell Street was, roughly $785,000. One at Field Street, which would be an alternative to Bell Street, was $942,000. A new one at Napier and Curtis Bridge would be $628,000, where repairing and rehabilitating the existing structure there would be $550,000. So,
Napier.
yeah, that's at Napier Curtis Park.
That's not the,
So, I'm hoping by the end of the day tomorrow to get out a watered down version of everything that they've sent to me, to you guys so that you can, start going through it since the multimodal, grant is open right now. Will be open on the 23rd. So that way then one can be submitted.
does a bridge that is solely for pedestrians qualify for multimodal funding, or does it have the multimodal?
Yes, we do sidewalk projects,
Okay, good.
so, yes. Yep, and they've got designs and some analysis of the structures and stuff in here, so I'll share it with everybody, but, so I just printed this morning. So
What's the match on a multimodal?
normally it's 20%.
Well, on the street being.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you remember anything about a start date and paying full name back?
So notice to proceed is normally done 12 weeks after the bid date, so 3 months after that bid date, which was what, July,
End of July,
end of
so
July.
it'll be another month or so.
Yeah, before the notice to proceed will be issued.
Are they going to wait till spring to start it?
I would think that they will be looking at purchasing materials over the next few months, and starting work at the beginning of 2025.
If the guy up there would be, it's go to high water.
You would get an invite to our pre-construction meeting if there hasn't been one yet. Usually that's right around notice to proceed. So probably the next month we'll have a meeting inviting the township to that.
If you get a chance, if you could just shoot Karen up there. I'd appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
talking about Erie, how about the yacht club project?
Oh, sure, yeah. So, we've held a pre-construction meeting with Shivers Construction. And they have received the notice to proceed on the project. So, originally they had told us, after Labor Day, they expected to begin. Right now, what's actually happening is, there's been, various material submissions and so forth coming in. And there's a utility relocation discussion that's underway that primarily involves aerial facilities, Penelec, Verizon, and cable and phone, et cetera. So that's where things are at. But there's a lot of discussions happening almost daily. So
Any other comments? Question?
Uh,
Oh,
Yeah, so is that the grant mechanism that we're targeting? That'll be the PennDOT multi-modal. Is that the best one?
That or TASA would probably be your best bet to go for grants, would be one of those two.
Okay. And then the 20% has to be split. I guess.
Yeah, that pays 100% construction and no engineer.
However, you would submit the application and whatever that agreement would be with you guys, yes.
So,
Depending on where the work is, you know what I mean, that sort of thing.
okay, and that's by the end of December 22, right?
November 5th is when the applications are due for multimodal.
Okay. So is it our responsibility, Wesley Lawrence Park, to accumulate that application?
Yes. Yep.
Alright.
And I'm thinking, Marcus, that planning could help because I think we could potentially consider using some CDBG dollars because it is a low and moderate income block group to help support the two municipalities with match. If I can convince everybody to go along with my plan, which includes the county planning commission and both Orange Park and West.
We'll have to, work with Lawrence Park and definitely get that in, so November 5th.
Yes, yep, the applications don't open until 23rd, and then you have until November 5th.
I think we better get a meeting together. To communities.
okay. Hey, any other comments? Nope. We have additional hearing of the public at the end of the meeting. Is there any public comment? Now. Hearing none, let's see, German, next meeting of the TAC is November 13th, where is, EMTA,
At
I'm sorry.
EMPA.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn? Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.